In Rig Veda again it is mentioned, may water cleanse us and the earth, which means Apa subhram yachati payam tena ma punantu prithvim cha ma punatvo, which means may the pure water grants us purification and the purify the earth as well. So when we talk about, so in our culture we are giving respect to all the natural resources available for the benefit or benefits of human being. So all things are respected, whether it is earth, whether it is water, whether it is natural resources. So if we adopt that habit of how can I explain this? If we adopt that habit of that, we should be actually very much humble. We should be very gratitude. We should pay gratitude for all that is available to us. Then automatically we will try to live. We will understand to live in sync with the nature. Again, we see that we always invoke in our prayers, whatever prayers we chant. For example, I mentioned about Apa Shanti, Antariksha Shanti, everything should be peaceful. So when we we chant these prayers, it is clearly mentioned that we understand, we know that concept long before, that how we can live in sync, how we can live in close vicinity with all the natural resources. So we say Ganga cha Yamuna chaiva Godavari Saraswati Narmade Sindhu Kaveri Jale Snim Sanidhim Kuru, which means, O Ganga, Yamuna, Godavari, Saraswati, Namrada, Sindhu and Kaveri, may you presence be in this water. So whenever we are talking, so all these we are taking the names of all these rivers and we do this Vedic prayer to understand. So the ancient people has very clear-cut understanding that their sustainability, their survival is very much dependent on these rivers. So when we understand this, we only utilize or we properly utilize these rivers. But as we are talking about modernization, so this thought process of mine or these views of mine are not against modernization, that we should not prepare dams or we should not prepare natural reservoirs for water, or we should not provide different channels for irrigation. It is not like that. It is that how we can optimally utilize those resources without even blocking the natural flow of water. So we see a lot of floods are coming in different parts of the world, whether it is China, whether it is America, or whether it is in India. So now we see that actually we have, in the name of modernization, in the name of urbanization, we have actually blocked the natural flow of several rivers. We have constructed illegal colonies, illegal societies in that pathway, and when the flood comes, when the water level rises due to monsoon or different rains, we say that the flood is coming. So it actually not the flood is coming, water is on this natural course. It is we who have blocked this natural pathway, and when we blocked this natural pathway, so now we see that it is flood. So there is a lot of, and if you go to the older maps, you see that the particular flow of this river is in this direction. But now you see, maybe satellite maps or maybe all of the modern technologies, you see there are a lot of constructions in those areas. So when there is a construction, so again it is not that water has hindered, we have hindered its natural course, and now we see there are a lot of these things are coming up. Again, when we talk about we call Mother Earth. So Mother Earth means Devi Prithvya Nama. We provide salutations to the divine Mother Earth. It is taken from Atharva Ved. So when we talk about treating Earth as a mother, so it very clearly says how you will treat your mother. You will not harm her. You will not exploit her. So in the similar way, we have to take what is required for our survival from our earth, which can be replenished, which is sustainable, and which is recycled. But we have done so much of damage, so much of harm to the earth, that now we can see the traces of plastic even at the top of the Himalayas and at the bottom of the ocean. So the person who deep dives, or when we talk of go inside, so we see lot of plastics which is non-degradable or which may take thousands of years to degrade. Now there is also coming called microplastics. So there was one study which says that if a person is drinking this much of water, or a person in a normal person, if you take all the microplastics, it is actually a size of a credit card or a debit card. This much microplastic is already available in our body. Now a lot of new cancers are creeping up, lot of new diseases are creeping up. This is because it is us who have actually exploited the earth, who have degraded the earth. So the last section of it is the second last section of my talk, which talks about the yoga and spiritual ecology. So in this, when we talk about Upanishads, we have 10 Upanishads. The first one is the Isha Upanishad. So Isha Upanishad says, Isavasyam idam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat, which means all this is pervaded. All which is seen is actually, it is pervaded by divine. Everything in the universe is enveloped by that divine. And what is that divine? That divine is consciousness. That divine is what we call as supreme consciousness. So it is clearly mentioned when we talk that everything is one divinity. So again, we respect, we harmonize, we live in sync, we live in balance with all natural surroundings around us. Again in Bhagavad Gita, in Shri Krishna is saying to Arjuna, he is saying in 6th chapter 32nd shlok, he is saying, yes, Atmau pamyena sarvatra sarmam pasyati, you Arjuna. One who sees all beings as like oneself, actually Arjuna, he is liberated. Which means he sees all like himself. He does not discriminate between people, between different animals, between different, all the living entities. Then actually we see that we are in sync with nature. So there is a lot of talk about yoga. So let's talk something about it. So yoga means to live in unison. Unison means to have that connect with the nature. So that is yoga. So in Bhagavad Gita it is said, it is Lord Krishna is saying, Samavatam yoga uchyate, which means evenness of mind is called yoga. So the concept of yoga is very much distorted. Most of the people connected with different type of postures or different type of exercises, they only consider themselves as yoga. But that is a part called the Ashtanga yoga. It is not proper yoga. The proper yoga is when we call the evenness of mind. When my mind is controlled, when my mind is even, when my mind says that I should not harm other for the sake of my benefit, actually that is yoga. And that we can inculcate, that we can understand as what Bhagavad Gita is saying. That it is not like having different postures, having different, that is also yoga, but actual yoga is when we try to live in harmony, when we try to live in sync with the nature and by our evenness of the mind. Again, in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Shri Krishna is saying that what is yoga? Yoga is skill in action, which means yoga karmashu kaushalam, which means whatever you do, it should be in a skilled manner. So when we do anything in a skilled manner, so it gives us a proper direction. We also so it is not that we cannot modernize or we cannot urbanize or we cannot make progress in the modern world without harming the nature. Without harming the nature also we can have technology is so advanced, we can adopt different type of approaches, and we have seen in different parts of the world like how the sustainable solutions have come up, in which modernization is also going in and the conservation of natural resources, so both are going in hand. So this is all what Bhagavad Gita is again saying this. Then in Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 17 shlok, Shri Krishna is again saying to Arjuna, Yena sarvam idam tatam, that is which all this is pervaded, by which all this is pervaded. So again the same concept, if we understand it is only one which is pervading in all, then we will not harm anyone. So what I talk about in my conclusion, or what I understand is that what I try to explain. So again this is only my thought which came into my mind suddenly when I was sitting for those 3 days in the World Health Summit, and suddenly I thought that I should record maybe a one class with my perspective, with my idea, or which I think at this juncture are coming into my mind, as I cannot say much, but whatever I have understanding of my different Vedic texts, whether it is Bhagavad Gita, whether they are Upanishads, or whether there is different literatures like Ramayana or Mahabharata, that actually that concept is already there. What we now talk as One Health, that is already existing. I have no objections of giving it a different name or maybe a different approach, but only thing is that we should understand that our ancient people, our ancient ancestors, they have a clear and a very thorough understanding, which we now call it by different names, by different terminologies, and by different ideas. So that idea was already there. We need to understand, we need to inculcate those things, and we need to take those things from Vedic texts and try to integrate with our present One Health approach, which everyone is so much talking about, and lot of things will depend on how we take this forward for our future generations. As it is clearly mentioned, Manu Smriti, which says that dharmo rakshati rakshita, which means dharma protect, which means dharma protects those who protect it. So it clearly says that if I protect the nature, nature will protect me. If I stand for any good cause, that good cause will automatically have a positive impact on me. And finally, when we talk about compassion, so compassion is the highest form which any of the religion have taught us till date, which ever existed on this earth. So what is the compassion? The compassion is mentioned in Padma Puran, which says Bhutadya Sarva Dharmeshu Shreshta, which means compassion towards all beings, any of the being, is the greatest of all virtue. So this, I think, should be the concept of the One Health, that we should be compassionate to each and every individual which exists around us. Thank you.